New York. This is the city I've seen most in the movies. What would it be like? Would I find that elusive giant fruit that it is named after? It was certainly going to be an experience. The flight over to mainland New York took about 5 hours. Not too bad compared to the first flight anyway. I didn't get bashed this time. One crazy thing I did see. We were coming into land. The seatbelt sign was on. We were told to stay seated. But one guy decided this was a great time to get up, stand in the aisle, and take a selfie. Wow, the human race is doomed, isn't it? The view outside was amazing. It was nighttime, so there were so many lights. Shiny. After landing and getting through security, we got into our Uber and headed off to our hotel. Our driver was awesome, very friendly, and was telling us about all the things that we could do in New York. Just before we arrived at our hotel, we started to wonder if our driver was a bit dodge. The surroundings got very interesting the further we drove. But no, it was all right. We stopped, and there was our hotel. We would get a good look at our new surroundings the next day when it was light. Man, was that an experience. We headed into our hotel, and instead of a quiet lobby, we got... There was a nightclub in the hotel. In the lobby of the hotel. America is interesting. We were on the 7th floor, so the doof 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 sounds didn't make it up to us, and there were no drunken patsies and eddies in our hallway. The rooms were fairly small but had everything we needed in them. It was fairly late, so we decided we wouldn't venture out and had a quiet night. The next day, we went for a walk to a convenience store down the road. This was a very educational experience. We were staying in the Bronx, the real New York, not all that touristy stuff you see on TV. The store was a good one and had fresh fruit and vegetables, debunking a myth that prevails in New Zealand that Americans eat only processed foods. It's not true at all. There were loads of veggies. And it was cool to just wander around and buy the things that looked tasty. On the way back, we got the chance to really appreciate our environment. Oh, pants. I did get an interesting lesson in checking things before you consume them. Somebody had opened this bottle in the store, secretly had a swig, put the cap back on, and put it back on the shelf. Then this fool of a Kiwi came in and bought it. It went down the sink. I never had my chubby. And speaking of sink, something I had to try was cheese in a can. It's like really bad Cheesdale cheese. Yeah, that'll be fine. Maybe not the smartest idea to put it down the sinkhole because it is stuck in the sinkhole, and for some reason hot water is not melting this stuff. The rest of the day we took it easy watching some TV. They have live Tetris on TV here. You watch two guys playing Tetris. That's the show. And Papa John's for dinner. It was really good. And it came with this green thing. I think it was a jalapeno. It tasted good either way. I assume I was supposed to eat it. This wouldn't be the first time I have eaten a decoration. I did a bit of a Google search on my phone and searched the Bronx in the news section. It was interesting what came up. Of course it all wasn't like that, but I certainly wasn't in Masterton anymore. The next day was another take-it-easy day. We just hung around the hotel most of the day. And then in the evening we jumped aboard the great New York method of transport, the subway. It was pretty cool to head underground and see a bunch of very unique people and hear the trains coming in making that weird noise that they do. We headed downtown and made our way out to Broadway. We were out to catch a show. I'm not the biggest stage show fan. Mum and Dad took me to see Les Miserables and Chess when I was a kid, and I wasn't really sold on them. But you have to do this when you're in New York. We settled on The Lion King, and I got to experience walking the crowded streets. It was just like Crocodile Dundee. New York's pretty busy, huh? And they like to harmonise with their cars. Each time someone sounds their horn, the others just have to join in. We headed into the theatre and then settled in for the show. It was brilliant. I was asked not to film it, so I was good and I didn't. Something unexpected happened at half-time though. We thought the show was starting again, but it was two women who took the opportunity that this was the perfect time and the perfect place for a bit of biffo. The second half was just as great as the first, and the cast were amazing, especially the guy who played Mufasa. He had an incredible voice. We were allowed to film the bit at the end where they all came out, so I made sure that I did. Afterwards we headed out to have a meal. It was after 11 PM by this stage, and we had to make sure that we caught our subway on time, so we ate fairly quickly. I also ordered a Long Island iced tea, as this was something that I'd always wanted to try. It arrived in this big-ass goblet. As we had a train to catch, I also drank this quickly. Then my memory gets a bit hazy. It was a very strong drink.
Oh, crocodile, beating him with sausages.
But I did make it back to the hotel with the help of my travelling friends and then headed to bed. The next day was a big one. We started off downtown. I ticked off another bingo by seeing the New York Public Library. You know, from this movie. We then went for a wander. The sewer grates really do steam. What is down there? The buildings in New York are incredible. They go so high into the clouds that they disappear. How do you build something like that? The Louis Vuitton building was made like stacked luggage. I love architecture with character. I also saw a hot dog vendor and had to try one. It was really good. I just hope it didn't make me crook. A little bit later on, I found a corn dog vendor and also had to try this. We had a look at Central Park and saw some trees and saw some squirrels. They're cute little buggers. You can tell I'm a tourist. No? Had New York pizza for lunch. The slices were massive, but very, very tasty. Was then off to the Intrepid Museum. The website describes it well. Experience the world's first space shuttle, a nuclear weapons carrying submarine, dozens of military aircraft, a supersonic spy plane and the world's fastest commercial airliner displayed in and around the legendary aircraft carrier Intrepid, an awe-inspiring place for an unforgettable adventure. Being a Pacific War military historian, I was in heaven. Had a great time. Except I kept managing to hit my head in the submarine. They are so cramped. You know, I'm not a tall guy. I guess just a bit clumsy, so I never would have made it as a submariner. I'd be spending all my time in the sick ward with concussions. And it was fascinating to see what a submarine toilet looks like.
Man, where's the door?
The Intrepid is an aircraft carrier and you can wander all about it. You can go below deck and you can go above deck. We also saw the Space Shuttle Enterprise. It is so brilliant how they build these giant museums in the US for these things. And the bigger ships themselves are museums. It's so cool. This was the last major thing that we had planned for the Big Apple. We headed back to our hotel again, through the dance club, and up to our room. We got really hooked on this TV show called Bar Rescue. It was awesome, but we don't get it in New Zealand. I really miss that show. Next day we made our way back to the airport for one last flight to a place in the United States, our final holiday spot before coming home. But this was the one I was most looking forward to, Hawaii. I wonder if Stitch is still living there.